Hello everyone, I am Afrin of class 8C. Today I am here with my presentation on the topic introduced species, which is one of the main cause of extinction of species. Definition: introduced species are those species that have been moved by the humans to the environment where they did not occur naturally. These include animals, plants, fungi and bacteria.
Now, let us know the characteristics of introduced species. They reproduce very quickly, they grow and spread very quickly, but they can also cause harm to the natural environment. Coming to its effects, they take more space and nutrients, they are very hard to get rid of, they carry diseases and also prey on native.
How do they come here? They come here by ships, transportation of wood products and the pet trade. Now let us watch a small video on the introduced species.
At first glance, it might seem that introducing new species, the human act of taking species from somewhere else and dropping them in a different area, would be good for biodiversity. Let's face it, if you take a bunch of beautiful flowers and plant them in your garden, you're increasing the biodiversity in your garden, right? You raise the species richness in your garden. But it's not a simple additive equation. It's more complicated than that. The term introduced species is synonymous with exotic species. The definition is any species that, through the activities of humans, is knowingly or accidentally transferred from its native habitat into one in which it doesn't naturally occur. An introduced species is the opposite of a native species, which is one that occurs in an area naturally, without human intervention. Many introductions are intentional. We do it on purpose, and we've been doing that for a heck of a long time, probably ever since humans came onto the scene and realized that they could pick something up that was alive and bring it somewhere else to serve their purposes. From goats and pigs to cattle and crops. Mostly we transport organisms that will do some good for us through agricultural means. We've been introducing plants and animals to places where they weren't native for a long, long time. Usually when people think about introduced species, they're really thinking more about the accidental ones, the things that happen coincidentally alongside human activities. When we introduce a species to a new area, everything that's living on, in, or with that species comes along with it. If you pick up a cow from one place and move it to another, it's going to bring along all the parasites that those cows normally deal with. I think people immediately picture images of rats streaming off the ships when they pull into some beautiful Tahitian paradise. Or the snakes that came into Guam with military movements during World War II. These animals are legendary in doing damage to native birds. They're very obvious ways that introduced organisms radically change biodiversity in a single place. There are so many other subtle ways that introductions happen and cause problems. The bottom line is that the world economy is hit with an annual cost of $1.4 trillion dealing with the negative impacts, obvious and not so obvious, of introduced species. That's a number I have a hard time wrapping my mind around. If you had an extra $1.4 trillion to play around with, there's a lot.
Now let us have a glance at a few examples. The first example is water hyacinth. They are native to the Amazon basin and the western Brazil. They are introduced to the Asia, North America and the Australia. They are brought as a decorative plant on the boats. The problem they created is they block the sunlight and the oxygen from getting to the other plants. This plant causes a dramatic damage to the plants. The second example is Northern Pacific sea star. They are native to the China and the Japan. They are introduced to the Australia. They came by boats and sometimes by other fishes. The problem they created is they are the aggressive eaters and they also reproduce very quickly. The third example is small Indian mongoose. They are native to the South Asia and introduced to the Asia and the Central America. They brought here for the pest control. The problem they created is they are the aggressive eaters and they also carry human diseases like rabies. Now let us see the fourth example. Asian longhorn beetle. They are native to the China, Japan and the Korea. They are introduced to the North America and the Europe. They are get over by the sheep and the wooden trees. The problem they create is many trees do not survive when they are infected by this beetle.
We can resolve the problems by the following ways. When we are on boating, make sure to clean our boat thoroughly. Never release pets into wild. Clean your boats before you hike in a new place. Do not take home any animals or plants from a different ecosystem. Take a helper volunteer to remove the introduced species. Thank you. I hope you liked my presentation.